to the Bird's Eye View. I am your host, JB. This is Quay and Rick. We are here with our post-draft reactions, and thankfully, we had a damn good draft last week. Rick, why don't you tell us what was our lucky picks for the 2025 draft?
So we were able to, with our 15th pick, draft Jalen Walker. Originally, like we all believed beforehand, that he was not going to be available to us at pick 15, which God led him in his righteous way straight into our laps, and we were able to pick him at 15. So much and so forth that Terry and Raheem were shocked themselves that he was there. I think originally, like at pick 15, we were all really ready to just get James Pierce if Jalen Walker hadn't been there. But because Jalen Walker was there, we picked him. Later on in that round, we were able to trade our future first, our second of this current draft, and a fourth. What was this? Was it a seventh round? We traded something else this year.
It was
Seventh round.
And a seventh.
It was second and a seven.
Yeah, for a first this year from the Rams and a third from this year as well. We used the extra first that we had for James Pierce Jr. at pick number 26. Thank Jesus, because being able to get both of those players on our pass rush that we've been missing for a very long time. Those guys are excellent needs. We were able to come to use the third round pick that we got from the Rams in order to get Xavier Watts. Now, personally, I don't know about y'all, but Xavier Watts is my steal of the draft. He shouldn't have been there at third round, personally, if you watch his tape and if you just seen him play and his ball skills. But we were able to go into the third round, pick him up, and then later in those rounds, we were able to pick up Billy Bowman and a tackle from Wisconsin. And I think that all those guys were really needs that we this was a very fill-a-need draft, and I feel like we did all of that. What do you think? Go ahead, what was
The steal?
what was your just opinion of our draft like?
Shocked. I didn't expect Terry to pull it off like that. I didn't expect Jalen Walker to be there for one. So I was at the draft party, and then from 8, when Carolina took McMillan, I was like, whoa. And then New Orleans took the tackle. I thought they were going to go Michael. I was like, whoa. And then 10, whoa. And so 11, I'm like, he's going here. And then 12, I was like, I know he's going here. Mm-hmm. But then when San Fran took Michael, I was like, okay, it's only one left. And then I'm like, I know he's going here. Didn't go. 14, I'm like, please take the tight end. Please take the tight end. And they took the tight end. Mm-hmm. And then when we got to 15, I kid you not, I'm at the party. And we was given 8 minutes to take the pick.
Yeah,
we took the entire. So we're all like, wait, they're about to because
in the last 30 seconds
they're showing them on the screen talking and holding the paper. I'm like, bro, they're about to trade the pick. Mm-hmm. And then when it came in, and then it was like Jalen Walker, and everybody just lost it. You know that video, like, look what Jesus did. but it was so crazy because I was there last year. We was all there last year. One Penix and everybody. Half was booing.
It sounded like a deflating balloon.
But this year it was, everybody was ecstatic. Everybody was, I was like, let's go to the bar.
And
talk about how it was when, were you still there when we traded up?
Actually, I had left.
Oh.
I had left because it was late because we picked 15.
It was like 9.
So my friend called me, Zach, he called me, and I was on the phone talking with someone else, and I said, Zach's calling me, hold on, let me make sure everything's okay. Because I had we had been out. And then he was like, the Falcons just traded back on the clock. I'm like, no. Like, mind you, I'm on 75, heading home. And I grabbed YouTube TV in the car just to catch the pick. And it was like James Pierce. And I was like, oh, we are cooking.
And we're gonna talk about our reaction to that James Pierce Jr. pick. But I do want to ask you, obviously last year all three of us were together at the draft party. What was the difference in the reaction last year compared to this year? What was the atmosphere like in the stadium? Did it feel like as a fan base we were all in unison that Jalen Walker was going to be a pick?
I would say probably 99% of the fans there were like, crazy. Because also you got to think about it. It's also Dog Nation, and so we have the notion that the Falcon don't take players from Georgia. So it was that felt like that curse ended. And then at the same time, you got a player that everybody wholeheartedly from like a holistic point wanted. Of course, there's a few people that I wanted this, but the majority of the fan base at that party, like Jalen Walker, like yes, let's go. And so it really felt like, whoa, hope. I'll say hope. Hope. It felt like, okay, after taking offense 4 years in a row, it's like we got to go defense, and it fell in our lap. We didn't have to move up. We didn't have to do that. So everyone was ecstatic. So
I like that. Honestly, for my reaction of the draft, I was at the Cheesecake Factory trying to go to Buffalo Wild Wings. They had like an hour wait, and I was like, for the draft, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And just getting there, we couldn't hear nothing. So we were just watching TV, waiting for the captions to come on. And it's just, I think, right around 8 when the Panthers passed on him, it was, do we have a shot at this? Are we possibly going to trade up to go get him since he did pass somebody? Then at 9, the mocks were showing Michael going to the Saints. They had a couple offensive tackles potentially going there. So I was just like, I don't see Jalen Walker fitting this team. And just seeing the picks go by on and on, I do feel like what you said, that hope. I think this is the first time I've been a fan my whole life, but legitimately watching the Falcons, I've been a fan for probably about 14, 15 years. So in the 15 years I've been watching the draft, you've been happy with some picks, you've been disappointed with some picks. This was the first time we were all on the same page, at least with the 15th pick. Now, the 26th pick with James Pierce has given a little bit of, up and down, where some people are liking it, some people aren't liking it.
Not from guys with a brain. It's all from people that...
I think it's definitely from people that aren't not as invested into the Falcons, but also looking at it just from a small thinking scale. Like, the biggest argument right now is, why would you waste a first round pick next year and use it this year? But to my argument, I don't believe until for maybe another 5-6 years we're going to have a class that's this deep defensively. And this was the best time to be aggressive and make a move, especially when we're going on 12 plus years of not having a pass rush. So I definitely think that, the gamble was worth it. It looks like our coaches did their homework with James Pierce Jr. by visiting his mom, talking about his character, which it came to our attention. The character concerns weren't even as bad as they were making it out to be. So I
feel like
go ahead.
He's going to be one of them. He's going to be, deep down, I feel like he might transition quicker than Jalen.
Why you say that? That's a good analysis.
Just from a natural, he's rushed. Like, he's always rushed. And so the thing with Jalen, he's been a chess piece. But Jeff Ober said he's going to start off at edge. So it's not something he's accustomed full time. But James Pierce has always just rushed. Yeah. And his first step is elite. But I think I wouldn't be shocked if his transition is quicker than Jalen's. I would see that because he's
already mastered the position.
Yeah, and he's longer. And, he's 6'5", 245. Jalen's, 6'1", 243. So I think all that translates well. And that first step, I told y'all before the draft when we were digging in, like, I thought outside of Abdul Carter, his first step was he was up there with him. And so as far as talent, you got to think, coming into this year, he was a projected top 5 pick. That talent just doesn't go anywhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so
his schedule just got harder.
Yeah.
And Tennessee lost in the draft before. They lost a whole bunch of defensive pieces that were of a bigger frame and of a bigger size.
So he became the primary focus.
When you eliminate that, but then also you have when you eliminate that, but then you also it's hard to pinpoint on that one individual. But then at the same time, it's like he had 9.5 sacks his sophomore year.
Yeah.
Obviously, your next year after that, people want you to have more sacks. But 9.5 sacks or 7.5 sacks in
Mm-hmm.
an SEC season is the equivalent to 12 sacks, and you go in another conference.
I think that's been lost on people.
Yeah, it's
That
like
he's
playing the Kelvin
right.
Banks,
Mhm.
the Will Campbell.
He's
the
playing the
guys
best of
that's
the
going
best and getting out that 9
top
10.
10 picks.
Yeah, and these are
he's
players are going to be future NFL stars. I think Kelvin Banks is going to be a great lineman for the New Orleans Saints, even though I don't like giving them props. You
Don't
know,
say that, man.
sorry,
Team in.
my bad. We'll
That's
bleep that.
cool.
We'll bleep that out.
No.
But
He can say that because we.
But
got
they
the
also
guy
have,
that,
you know, Jalen
we
Walker's
got the guys,
son, so.
that drafted that got 3 sacks on him. So he can only.
and to Jalen Walker's testament, you know, Rick, you and I, we've coached football before, and that's the bottom line is the lower man wins. We talked about his frame definitely got knocked down. I do remember pre-draft he was seen at 6'3", 240, and now he gets drafted, he's 6'1".
Another school does that.
Yeah,
Everybody-
for sure. But you know, even then, if he's 6'1", I don't get it. That doesn't scare me because
Yeah.
think about this linemen are averaging 6'6", 6'7". How are you going to get your hands on him, especially when he does move as fast as he does? So then you have one guy who's already lower, powerful, motor's ridiculous, doesn't stop, and has a ridiculous awareness for where the quarterback is. Then you have James Pierce, longer guy, great wingspan, able to, not only get to the quarterback, but also bat down his passes, drop him into coverage. To have 2 players like that in the first round, then after you fix your trenches, double down into the secondary to make sure the back half of the field is okay. I can't see how Atlanta could have done this draft any better. I think this is, for some reason, we're getting media grades of B's and C's, and I just cannot see how we are not getting grades.
So
of
I
A's.
feel because it's the trade, but it's also because of how people project us to do in this upcoming season. Because we do have a lot of young pieces that we have a bunch of defensive players that's essentially this is their first year playing, like Drew and Dahlman and everybody, not Dahlman, Dorless and everybody like that. They didn't play enough or as much as we kind of expected, especially Root we traded up for and he didn't play as much. So they're kind of being like, this is going to be their first year of fully playing the season. Same as like Jalen Walker and James Pierce. This is a whole bunch of first year, second year defensive pieces guys with just Jesse, Ellis, Leonard Floyd could show out, could not. We don't know. So it's kind of a whole bunch of we don't knows on the defensive side rather than the offensive side. And so I don't think that they're willing to give us that growing room. Because some teams like the Rams, for example,
They just did that.
They literally just did that. They
That was my
Brandon
And that's my
Fitz and
argument.
Jared Verse, but the offense was just really hurt in their first year. Our offense is young and tender. They gonna go
I think realistically, if we from a realistic standpoint, it might start off slow.
Yeah,
I
during
agree.
week 6, week
I think
7.
it might crack the back half,
Yeah.
like oh snap. But I think if the offense can carry us, and I like that they got ball hawks, because it reminds me of, and I don't want to make this comparison, but when we went to the Super Bowl, it's in a sense Deion Jones, DeVondre Campbell. We went very young. We had Keanu. We had a bunch of rookies, and I feel like
Grady Jarrett.
they're going to play them.
Yeah,
But I feel like this offense is, knock on wood, it should be top 5. I just don't see how they can't. If we can get timely stops to start the season, timely takeaways, timely sacks. If we have leads, it's rush downs, and so that's when you let the guys hunt.
Really, our big improvement on offense that we only really need to make is time management.
Agreed.
Like that's really if Raheem could just use our timeouts, I feel like we kind of zoned ourselves out of the games as well. Sometimes there's been a lot of games we were at the goal line right there. Just if Bijan not gonna get it, I'm sorry, put Tyler right there. Tyler's gonna get it. We don't have to run 8 yards for 3.
I definitely think that, this draft, on paper, it does make us look really good. I feel like it does, based off the additional pieces. However, you two make valid points. We have a long way to go, just because we still have...
And it's a new defense.
New defense for
They got
one.
one.
We're in the 4th new defense. Then you have, again, all these new players. That team chemistry has to be built.
Well, they say defense clicks quicker than
Defense does click quicker because the play calls are not as extensive as an offense.
No.
However, chemistry does matter because, for example, there's going to be certain plays. I'm a linebacker. I expect a safety to be in a certain spot. I expect my 5 technique to be somewhere in a spot. And that comes with time because it can take one player out of that defense that does one thing wrong to mess up the whole play, and that can turn a 5-yard difference to a 15-yard difference.
You know, the crazy part about it is, like, I'm excited for the defense and Jalen Walker and James Pierce,
Very.
Dylan Bowman with Jesse and Xavier Watts.
And let's
then,
not forget the
hold on,
undrafted
listen,
Kobe Bryant. That's
but-
another one.
But the moral of the story is, it all comes down to Michael Penix.
Yeah.
It still all comes down on that left arm. And so I tell everybody that man has my future mental state on
His left hand.
in his left hand. But it all boils down to him because it doesn't work without him. It doesn't. But I think this draft, what it did was it took the pressure off Terry and it put it back on the coaching staff.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
And so Terry, he only shows his face during the offseason. During the season, he's it.
We
And so
ain't-
he's like, now it's on you, Rob. It's
We've
on
never
you.
seen Terry cook like that. We've seen Terry make, I think last year was the start of Terry finally cooking.
And you know what I'm gonna say real quick is we went offense those last 4 years.
Correct.
His first 4 years.
Yes.
Us going defense twice in this one season
Makes up for it.
makes up for it. Like, and I'm not gonna say like it was bad choices. I'm not gonna say that. Well, the rest of Kyle Pitts.
I feel like you got 2 generational players.
But yeah, but I feel like you got people in places of need that we've needed for a long time, and we double dipped.
Yeah.
Right. Would I love to have got the edges a little bit earlier on and kind of had them groomed to be like ready to go right now? Sure. But the fact that we kind of have them in positions to play still right now with what Quay said, our offense ready to go,
Yes.
like ready to spear ahead, and our defense just has to follow suit and just not give up. Obviously, some rookie mistakes are going to happen. Those are just growing pains that everybody just has to go through because we're going to be playing the Bills, the Rams, etc., etc. But as far as our division is concerned, those O-lines are not good. Like for the Panthers, it's just Ikem Okonkwo. You can kind of the rest doesn't matter.
The Bucks have a solid line.
The Bucks just retired their All-Pro center. I'm cool.
Well, they remember they drafted another one after like that.
He's not an All-Pro center.
I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying they're preparing.
They're preparing, but they're not gonna immediately stop us.
Because right now, Jalen Walker and Pearson's only threat on the Bucks is Tristan Wirfs.
You know what? He was lost in the shuffle though.
Who gets lost in the shuffle?
Not a particular person, but what people forget is we have 50, 60 plus $1 million in cap space next summer.
Yep.
So
why do we need a first round pick?
hypothetically, let's just say those first four picks hit. You got to hold. Let's just say you got to hold that defensive tackle in the interior and maybe a cornerback too. And then depending on how Troy does, we'll see. I'll tell you this though. I think that Jeff Ulbrich press conference was real interesting, and why I was real interested when he said that Jalen Walker was going to strictly play edge. I said, oh, so what we do? So what's the linebacker thing? So remember we were like, what does Caden Ellis follow?
Yeah, I think Caden's going to be a linebacker still.
Yeah, so that kind of changes the equation a little bit because now it's back to okay, now we really need Troy.
You don't have to blitz Caden on as much as you once did.
I feel like you're taking away his superpower.
I mean, I agree. Caden does have a superpower, but I'm saying you drafted a Jalen Walker. Rick and I were actually discussing this earlier. I don't think Caden has to have as much emphasis to be a pass rusher because we said last year, Caden's going to be great if he puts his hand in the dirt. But now you got Jalen Walker.
I don't like Caden's sideline speed.
I don't like him. I don't like his sideline speed, but him in the middle of the field, just like
being a leader, being a captain, delegating.
That's elite. Like if you want to rush him, then you can rush him. But I feel like in the best case situation where he said that we're already going to be in we're still going to be in a 3-4 heavy zone scheme. He's not going to change that until he has to. He can make adjustments. He said multiple, but he said multiple, like we're going to play multiple, but he's going to keep our main thing, that 3-4 heavy zone 3 scheme.
Yeah, and
because you can't, like I said, we don't have Mike Hughes in man against Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, whoever you want, isn't isn't in.
I'll
isn't
say
a
this.
thing.
I don't think it's going to be the same 3-4 zone scheme.
No, I don't think it's gonna be. I think he's gonna tweak it to
I
how
feel
he
like
is, but
he's
we're not
gonna
gonna
make
change
something.
like our overall thing.
Quote unquote,
really.
he's going to make something we've never seen. He's brought up where Ross stems from, that
Fangio defense.
Fangio and that Staley, but he's going to fuse it with what he's the Robert Sala,
Shoot,
the
Rock got
Houston
Dungy in
Texans,
him, too.
D'Amico Ryans, and you put all the best parts of that. And what that looks like, I don't know. But it sounds exciting.
It sounds exciting,
It
but
sounds
I
exciting.
want him to take his time on that. I don't want him to come in here and rush. Because our worst
He's
thing
had all
about
summer.
summer's not enough. Summer's not
summer.
enough.
I feel like
Summer's
That's
not
what you
enough.
get paid for.
I feel like as a fan base or even as analysts, we're gonna want the defense to hit quickly. However, like you said, I don't think it's gonna be an immediate thing.
It's not.
I think it's gonna be like
a growing
it's gonna be a
habit.
week one facade because all those week one jitters go. Week one facade, defense is gonna make some plays, but they're gonna have some mess ups. Then you have weeks 2 through 6 kind of shaky. Offense probably carrying us. After week 6, they got a groove. That's when we're finally gonna start
Yeah,
seeing
we're
what
gonna find
we
out
go.
like towards the middle of the
But
season.
I anticipate those first 6 weeks of the season, our pass rush is going to be very lackluster because not to a negative thing. I think it's going to be like last year where we were getting back there to pressure the quarterback and we're hitting the quarterback. We're just not getting home.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I'm going to disagree. I'm
Okay.
going to disagree because I think what it's going to be is going to be a heavy rotation. And let's just say Arnold Ebiketie and Leonard Floyd are the starters right now.
Mhm.
Last year we had, I don't even know who, we had Lorenzo Carter
Yeah.
in that second unit.
Oh, the
Now
second.
you got your fresh bodies now is Jalen Walker and James Pierce.
Braylon Trice.
That's a big upgrade.
It is.
Rushing against top. I think that's so. I don't think it's gonna be lackluster. I don't think it may be like. It ain't gonna be like Philadelphia.
No.
Your first.
I don't
year.
expect us to
What,
be like
what we're
Saxonville.
saying is it's gonna be.
It's gonna take some
You're
time.
gonna have an experience. They're
Right.
rookies. Like
But, you
playing,
know,
playing against like a sophomore at Tennessee, a sophomore tackle at Tennessee isn't playing a 3-year pro.
But also, you know what kind of gets me? Jeff Obrey.
He's
The
different.
way they, if you listen to these press conferences, the word they kept using was conviction. And if the thing was, I don't recall after a draft them ever telling us this is where we see a guy at. This is where it's always used to be. Oh, we just got to get him out of the grass. We'll, where we get him here. But he was like, no, Billy Bowman, that's a nickel. He's playing nickel.
Yeah.
Like Jalen Walker's an edge. James Pierce is an edge. They've never ever after a draft in this regime say this is where this guy's going to be. This is where I see him. And then the fact that you see those videos of him banging on the wall like take this guy. I think he already knows in his mind where he has a vision already. So I don't think he has to spend camp or like I need to see what he's good at. You get what I'm saying? Like, so
But I mean, we have to also pay grievance to those situations to where I'm gonna knock on wood. We missed Braylon Trice. I think that at that same notion, we had a same
But
plan
you know what?
for Braylon Trice.
But I think at this point, after this draft, whatever Braylon Trice give us is extra credit.
I agree.
I don't
with
feel like
Yeah, I
the
mean,
pressure
at
is
that
not
point-
as
at that point now,
the pressure
yeah,
is not
it's
as high.
extra.
Yeah, it's
Because last
Because
year-
Leonard Floyd, he's not gonna.
when we recorded last week, we were like Braylon Trice has to be like, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Now it's just like, okay, you give us 4 or 5 sacks, we'll be happy.
But that's the thing now. That's the beautiful thing about it post draft. Because additionally, with that extra trench help with the Bowmans and Xavier Wise being another Jesse Bates to some extent, it does give us an opportunity to add more to the sack tree. So instead of having maybe one guy with double-digit sacks, having multiple people on the team with 5+ sacks adds up. So we have 6 people. Like, come on, man, that's 35 plus. Then we can find your 12 sack guy, maybe Leonard Fournette. I mean, we can finish out this thing with 50, 60 sacks.
It's in that 40, 50 range this year.
Well, how many do we have? How many do we have?
60 is nuts,
great.
yeah.
I said, you're right.
60 is nuts.
But somebody got 60. What was
40.
that? The Eagles that year they went to the Super Bowl. How many did they
That's
get?
Come on, last season?
The Eagles were
They
in
lost
22.
against-
Oh, when they call, okay,
When they lost, how many did they have? They got up there, didn't
Yeah.
they? Yeah.
But they
I'm
got
not,
like
so we're not
already.
Eagles. I'm not saying we're Eagles yet. But I'll take it back. So, 50, what about 45, 50? 45, 50, that's a good number. What did we have
I
last
want
year?
to get out of 35.
We had 35 last year.
I think we had
It
32.
was probably like, we was second lowest, so.
So can we 46?
45.
I'm not saying 45. 46?
Give me 42. Give me
What,
42?
42 with room to grow.
42 with a lot of interceptions.
Yeah, 40
All right.
yeah.
What turnover?
We
42
need
with
some
an
interceptions.
admirable amount of turnovers.
That's what
So
we need. We haven't. The turnover battle. Now that's really a thing here. the turnover battle for us is really like, because we didn't have no turnover battle last year.
It was just Jesse. If it wasn't Jesse, it was it.
Because Jesse the first year versus Jesse this past year didn't look like the same person.
So we need to.
So if we can bring him back, and everybody else just kind of
you
like.
know what's crazy, yo? When you said that,
You know?
somebody on like, I was watching NFL Network or something, and it was like, you could see the signs of Jesse decline. I'm like,
What?
what?
I don't know about
Like
decline.
26. Like, what are you talking about?
I saw a pick 6 in my own eyes.
You're on that good Potter.
I'm about to say.
20.
What
I
was
feel
that
like-
game he took over by himself this past season?
The Bucks.
The Bucks,
yeah.
that was like the first drive. That forced one.
The Bucks on the road on the defense, like I feel like if we can, we said it today. If we can fix those turnovers, if we can get get home, do those two things, and our offense. Actually, I have one more thing: get a stop. The third down stops are going to be essential. Last year, not only could we not get third down stops, we also couldn't get teams off the field where they're running 8 to 9 minutes off the clock. The Commanders game, for example. So those are 3 big areas of need that we need to do. And with Ulbrich being the guy now, he's more competent than Jimmy Lake was, just from an experience standpoint. Not only does he have the salad tool in his bag, he also has the experience he got from Dan Quinn. So 2 good defensive minds. You can only imagine to see what he can do for us this year. Mm-hmm. And on paper, it looks good, but I really do believe he is going to be committed to turning us around to try to get us at least a top 20 defense. And if we can have a top 20 defense with a top 7 offense, top 5 offense, I'm going to say 7, but 5 too. We can go a lot of places.
Top 7 last year. We were top
Were
10.
we top 7 last year?
Top 10 last year. We were.
I have to
People don't
double
realize
check. I'm not
what
going to disrespect
we were
the
like. It was the scoring. Well, rushing, passing, all that. We were top 10. It was the scoring where we like.
I just think now, because the offense has a year under his belt with Zach Robinson, it was his first year calling plays. He's going to learn, hey, these are the mistakes I made last year that I won't do again. Michael Penix obviously gets a full offseason to learn his team. He's going to develop more chemistry with Drake London, with Darnell. Honestly,
Bro, say his name.
I'm not saying his name.
Say his name.
With the tight end.
Say his name.
He has to earn it.
He has to earn his name.
With more chemistry with Kyle Pitts, the one and only.
The one and only.
The elite Kyle Pitts. Say his name.
You know what?
Kyle Pitts.
I believe that
The Kyle
Pitts.
The disrespect has to end.
it's a calamity of reasons why Kyle Pitts is getting disrespected. However, I will say
I should have worn a Pitts jersey.
you should have. Bro. We like the arrow.
No,
I put the
I'm gonna say
Guinness
this.
You
on.
know exactly why you did it.
I'm gonna say this. I feel like this is the year that
We
he
done
finally
talking.
hits
We
his
say that
stride.
every year. We done
he
talking.
finally hits his stride.
Yeah,
done
we can't keep saying
We
that.
are done talking.
He got to put it on the field. Well,
We are
they
done.
gotta put it
I'm
on the
gonna give
field,
him benefit
I'm
of the doubt though.
I
I'm
done
gonna
talked to my boy. He
this
ready.
is why I'm gonna give
He
benefit of the
ready.
doubt. Because let's think of the all Kyle Pitts years. First year, you got future Hall of Famer Matt Ryan throwing you the ball. Matt Ryan loves his tight ends. Of course, Kyle Pitts is gonna be the focal point, especially when Julio Jones ain't here and Kyle Freeland got out
Your
midseason.
leading receiver is
Yeah.
Russell Gage and a lot
Exactly.
of kids.
So he had no choice but to be the
Bro.
guy. And it is actually a point piece from you. So then you have 22, new quarterback, and then he gets hurt. 23,
New
trying to come back
quarterback.
from an injury. New quarterback,
His injury.
a less accurate quarterback. Then 2024 comes,
New
you get
quarterback.
new quarterback, coming off an injury himself,
New play
and the
caller.
offense is slow, new play caller. So now you finally got a quarterback you got experience with. You got a second year with a play caller that actually understands your skill sets. You also have, there's more attention around you to where we can see, hey, these are what Kyle Pitts' specialties are. What was he good on last year? The seam. Seam, build, field. I wish we would add in some tight end screens for him, like how Chiefs do with Travis Kelce. But I think from a utilization standpoint, this is going to be Zach Robinson trying to get into his bag, and Kyle Pitts could possibly get over 1,000. Because I like Darnell. I just don't see why he is more of a point to throw to than Kyle. I think Darnell should be your third option.
It's gonna be Penix. His ability to stretch the field, and it was a lot of times where, and I'm not saying this because Kyle Pitts is my guy. There's a lot of times because I'm at the games. Kyle Pitts was getting open on some plays.
Mm-hmm.
He was getting open on some, but Kirk's inability to throw
push
the ball.
downfield.
It was
Kirk's inability to look at anybody besides Darnell Mooney and Ray McLeod some games. I'm like,
but and I'll just say this, like, Penix was on Twitch playing Madden, and everybody was like, throw the ball to London. He's like, nah, I'm about to get my boy KP the ball. I'm telling y'all, that 9 to 8. I know everybody used to that 9 to 5, but listen, 9 to 8 coming this year.
Hey.
Kyle, listen, bro.
I think honestly, if we can maximize our team, and that obviously this is an easy statement that every team. So all in all, it seems like we anticipate what the usage of the offense is going to be. We do expect growth there. Defense, we expect growth as well. At the end of the day, we just want to be consistent. And as long as we can be 1% better, I do think this team can go very far. But however, we are a long way to go as mandatory minicamp is around the corner. Then we get training camp. So, with that being said, do you two gentlemen have anything extra that you'd like to add today?
Well, sir. Let's go Falcons.
Falcons rise up. All right, then. Well, if that's the case, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Bird's Eye View. Again, I'm your host, JB. This is Quay and Rick, and we will see you next Wednesday.